Lakeland Currents, your public affairs program for North Central Minnesota. Production funding for Lakeland Currents is made possible by Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information available at bemidjiairport.org. Closed captioning for Lakeland Currents is sponsored by Nisswa Tax Service, tax preparation for businesses and individuals. Online at nisswatax.com.
Hello again, friends. I'm Jason Edens, your host of Lakeland Currents. Thanks for joining the conversation today, and thanks for your ongoing support of Lakeland PBS. According to the Judicial Branch of Minnesota, Minnesota has the ignominious distinction of having the third highest rates of human trafficking in the nation. Earlier this year, we had a candid conversation about human trafficking in the Midwest, and today we'll be learning about regional efforts to end human trafficking. Central Lakes Rotary is hosting a concert later this summer called Rotary Ends Human Trafficking. Here to help us better understand how this concert will end human trafficking are my three guests. Heather Kelm is with Brainerd Rotary and the Executive Director of Port Group Homes here in Brainerd, Minnesota. Mary Kay Verkenis is with Central Lakes Rotary, as is Susan Bricker. Welcome to the program, and thanks for making time for our conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, for those who aren't familiar with the issue, I think it's important that we understand sort of the scope and scale of human trafficking in our region. So Heather, I was wondering if you could remind us, how bad is this issue in our region?
According to survey data, about 5,000 students or youth each year reported being sexually trafficked, and that number is underreported. In central Minnesota, it's about 1.6% of youth self-identify, and the statewide average is about 1.4%. So within central Minnesota, it's significantly higher than the Minnesota state as a whole.
Nearly 2% of youth have reported being trafficked.
Yes.
And those are just those that are reporting having been trafficked, is that right?
Correct.
Mary Kay, I was wondering if you could help us understand the definition of human trafficking. I understand that Rotary International is addressing this issue as well. So how does Rotary define human trafficking?
I believe that it's considered any use of humans for using their bodies or their themselves for labor or sex, and so it's a buying of people. Mm-hmm. It's really a people for sale that's trafficking. So it can be for labor, it can be for sex. There certainly are some other things like for body parts and all of that some people will hear about, but probably the biggest is the sex trafficking and labor trafficking. I think sex trafficking is about a $99 billion business in the world.
Yes.
And I think labor trafficking is $51 billion in trafficking for labor. So people are brought in for labor or for sex and maybe for some of those other things. But it's a buying of a human being.
Sure.
And it's a taking of the human being and then putting them for sale for those purposes, which is, pretty atrocious. We talk about slavery. It's a form of slavery, really. It's human slaves. I think there's 40-some billion slaves I'm not exactly sure, but it's really huge in the world. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. And sex trafficking is the second largest criminal organization or criminal enterprise in the world, second only to drug trafficking. And I think people are astonished by that.
That is astonishing.
Yeah.
Susan, as a member of Central Lakes Rotary, I was wondering if you can explain to us why your Rotary chapter has sort of coalesced around this issue of human trafficking.
My husband is past district governor of the district of Rotary District, mm-hmm. and that was his main thing, was human trafficking and to end human trafficking and the abuse. It was back in our district governor training that we actually had different speakers come in, professional speakers, telling us that how this happens, mm-hmm. and the kidnapping that goes on, and the abuse that goes on, and that's very dear to my heart now.
But not all local chapters are
addressing this issue, right? So I'm curious, why is it that 2 local chapters are taking on this issue in our region? Mary Kay?
I really feel like this is a district effort that we're doing because we had the guts or the stupidity or whatever to step forward and take on the courage, I guess, but sometimes it feels foolish to take on such a huge project, you know, because it is huge, and we feel like we have to do something though, and this is our something to do. And so having that courage to step forward, I think, is what we did. But other people are really supportive all around the district, which goes into Canada, North and South Dakota.
North Dakota, Northern Minnesota, Western Ontario, and Western Wisconsin is our district.
So all those people are really supportive, and we got some district funding. They have helped us a little bit with some funding for doing some advertising. So that has been wonderful. But I think we have a district coordinator for the human trafficking, and so I think we're the ones who step forward. But I feel like really we're being supported by all the other clubs, and they're going to come and help, hopefully, or come and enjoy. And so I don't know why we did it, but we did it because we had the courage. I guess that's a good word. Sometimes it feels really overwhelming when you think about what a massive project it really is.
Well, I want to learn about the concert, of course, but I want to ask you all a couple more questions about the issue, because I'm afraid that some of our viewers don't fully understand the scope of this problem. What I've learned from you, Heather, and some of your colleagues has really been eye-opening. As I mentioned the last time we had a conversation, there are some 6,000 youth in Minnesota who experience homelessness nightly. How can we address human trafficking if we can't also address some of these related issues?
Right. Homelessness is one of the key indicators for being sex trafficked. At Port, which is a safe haven for youth who are at risk to be trafficked or who have been trafficked, and we provide services to between 150 and 200 youth every year. That number is astonishing, and those are the portion of the kids who have found a route to a safe place to sleep at night. And yes, we still have a lot of kids sleeping on the streets.
Well, and then I think that they're exposed to kids, other kids who have been trafficked, and then they get, it becomes just kind of from one person to another person, and so then their friends bring their other friends in. So it happens, at school, on the internet. Internet is big. Pornography.
Traffickers prey on vulnerabilities. So youth who don't have a place to sleep at night, that's a vulnerability. Their basic need isn't being met. So a trafficker might see that, and they would go in and say, okay, this one needs shelter, I can provide that. And it's more of a grooming that transpires. So they start with meeting those basic needs, and then they kind of hook them in so that youth doesn't think they can survive without that trafficker. And then that is kind of what leads into sex trafficking or labor trafficking.
And it also involves drugs. They'll get them using drugs, and then they become dependent. Not always, but I think that can become a big part. The age for starting, getting kids is like 9 or 10 to 14. That's very young, and yet.
So any solution needs to be holistic. We need to address these other related issues as well, as what I'm hering you both say. Is that correct?
Well, and it's not always homeless youth. A lot of these things are turning up in families. We had a youth at Port who she had a lot of anger, and she was kind of working through that, and she just kind of disclosed that she was just realizing what her mother and her uncle were doing to her, and they were effectively trafficking her. And so just kind of helping her work through those kinds of issues, and a lot of it is behind the scenes. You don't see it because it can be happening within families.
Mary Kay, you used a term that surprised me. You called this slavery. But it's interesting because our former President Obama said something along the lines that human trafficking should be called what it is, modern slavery. I'm curious if the three of you would describe human trafficking as modern slavery. Susan? Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it is.
Yes.
Modern slavery.
Yep, forcing someone to do something against their will.
So right now, the state of Minnesota has a remarkable surplus in our budget. Do you think the state of Minnesota could be spending more and doing more to address human trafficking?
I think they could be doing more in general to help a lot of mental health issues that then underlie a lot of why those kids are vulnerable to being trafficked. Because I think there's other trauma. If you look at families, there's some other trauma underneath that makes those kids more vulnerable. And trauma is insidious, and it gets into all parts of your life. And so I think helping mental health, and then also really taking a stand against human trafficking and really understanding it, helping people understand it. There are navigators, Safe Harbor. There is money set aside for that. Kate Lepage talked on your last session, and she is a Safe Harbor navigator, and they are out there doing stuff. But it's it's huge. It's like it's got to be. You got to get underneath it, because to help those vulnerabilities, because it's education, but it's also really helping families with those things that make their family or their children vulnerable. Don't you think that it's that underneath stuff?
Yes. Yep.
When you talk about trauma, you're also, in a way, talking about adverse childhood experiences. I'm wondering, how do you work with youth that have been trafficked in order to address that trauma?
Well, it's all individual, so whatever that person needs. We work a lot with Kate Lepage and the regional navigator and get them services set up specific to what their needs are. And then at Port, we also offer some general education classes, or we call them groups, to all of the youth who come in our doors, so that they kind of know what some of those red flags are. And a lot of these kids, we teach them so much, and the basics of having a healthy relationship, a lot of them don't know that. And you'd be astonished to hear some of the things that they say when we're going through this. And I'm surprised sometimes at the things that they don't know.
Is there something you can share?
No.
Okay. Well, what's one thing that the state could do that would make your work at Port Group Homes easier?
I think support, as Mary Kay was talking about, mental health support, and I think, like she said, getting to that trauma, because we see all of these kids, and the underlying issue is mental health needs and trauma that aren't being addressed, and generational trauma, not just trauma with the youth, but the supports for the whole family.
Well, let's talk about your solution. So this summer, in August, if I'm not mistaken, you're organizing a concert. And I was wondering, Susan, if you can just give us some of the big picture aspects to this concert. When's it going to be? Where's it going to be held?
I'm really excited about the concert part. And it's bringing awareness to human trafficking is the reason why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And we have several bands. Corey Medina and the Brothers.
Nice, I've seen them.
32 Below. Remedy Drive.
It's quite the lineup. It's impressive.
Rush Tribute Project.
Awesome.
Kent Dudley and Bended Knee. They will be there. And then we also have speakers. And in between the bands, we plan to have speakers, and we have a children's tent going on with children's activities going on.
So where in Pine River is the concert?
The Lakes Music Event Park, and that's 1 mile north of Pine River.
Just north of town on 371.
Where the old where the Bluegrass Festival is.
Okay, and the dates?
August 12th through the 14th.
So it's a 3-day festival.
Yes.
Excellent.
And you can get a ticket for as little as $20, and for the whole weekend, $80.
So what does $25 get you? Just an evening show?
For a day.
Okay, great. So you can pay $25 for a day or $80 for the weekend. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have camping.
Nice. On site?
Yes, on site.
Mary Kay?
Actually, it's about $40 for a long day like Saturday, but she's correct that $25 gets you Friday night or Sunday, I believe, but it is Saturday is a longer day. And I'm sorry, the other question you asked me was.
So there are 3 different pricing structures. You can go for the entire festival,
Yes.
you can go for a full day on Saturday, or the evenings
Right.
on Friday and Sunday. Is that
Correct,
right?
correct. And then children under 13 are free, and teens any length with a parent are only $20 at the gate. And at the gate I think they become $25. So. And we really encourage families. That's one of the things that's really important for us, is to have families there, and especially to get a lot of teens there, because I think they have a lot to learn. And I think we're hoping, anyway, that they will learn while they're having such a good time, that they will also learn, and that families then are not just giving them the information, but that they're part of it the whole time.
Yes.
That's kind of our goal.
Where can I buy a ticket?
Right on our retmusicfestival.com website. You can get it, it's through Eventbrite, and you can get right on to it from the website. And then you can get camping tickets, or camping reservations also on the website. That's done through CampSpot, but it's all on the website.
That's REHT Music Festival.
Excellent. REHTmusicfestival.com, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes. And another thing that I'd like to jump in and say is we are going to have tickets for sale at the Welcome Center.
Oh,
Brainerd Lakes
Sure,
Chamber
okay.
Welcome Center.
So it's not just online, you can also buy tickets elsewhere at a couple different places?
Not at this time, but
Okay, just at the Welcome Center.
at the Welcome Center this summer, we're going to have printed tickets.
Right, and maybe maybe your crystal cleaners will have some too.
Okay.
And Crystal Cleaners will have some for sale too.
And maybe up north. We're just trying to finalize some of that.
Okay.
The idea is to have some tickets available locally
Sure.
that don't have that extra charge that Eventbrite is going to charge you.
Oh,
and that
I
they can
understand.
come and buy.
Right.
And then it also should help people then, access their tickets early. And it'd be the same as getting them online, but without the fee from Eventbrite.
So you mentioned that there are speakers in addition to musical acts. What are the speakers going to be talking about, and who are they?
Well, they're going to be talking about human trafficking and what you can do with your family, and they're going to be also available. They'll be available during the breaks with the music. We'll have them on, but they'll also be putting on some workshops for smaller groups if you're interested in learning some more. There's a section at the park that is available for us to have some of those smaller ones. So one of them is Stacy Shaffer, who runs the 31 Aid Project in North Dakota. She is the Rotary District Committee Chair for sex trafficking, and her organization is all about education for helping families and people learn about sex trafficking, and I think all human trafficking. And then she's also a professor at, I think it's St. Mary's
In
Bismarck University. She's very involved in in the whole statewide task force for human trafficking. Another one is Dawn Heath Fiedler.
Yes.
Fiedler. Anyway, she is from Wisconsin and also runs an organization there that does education, and her stuff is spread around Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan. So she's an excellent speaker. Again, she'll be available for some workshops. Then the other we hope to have is Kate Lepage, who works right here in the area, and hopefully some police officers will agree to say what they're doing, because it isn't just about those who are trafficked. It's also trying to stop those who use victims, and I really want to call them victims. They are not willing. They're not willing to be doing this, but they have to, And so we need to stop the demand. And so that's what I think our police officers and the county and the state and local are doing.
So most of your speakers at the festival will be folks that are working on the front line, advocates and navigators, for example.
Right. And the other one is Shankel Dudley, who is the wife of
Kent
Dudley, and she has started some women's conference, and she really has some passion about helping these victims. So she will be wonderful. The thing that we didn't say about Remedy Drive is they participate in going in and rescuing victims all around the world.
All
Yes.
around the world.
We're really looking forward to having them come because they have experience, right, working with it.
Remedy Drive is the name of the
band,
organization.
Yes, the band.
The band.
Yeah,
and
the
how
band.
do they rescue? Can you tell?
They go with an
Sam?
organization, I think it's called Exodus Road, and they go in with these
Undercover.
organizations. Yep, and they go in and help rescue the victims. So
And they're one of your
participate.
musical acts.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
So we're
Interesting.
so psyched to have them come because I think they will not only play, but they'll educate, you know.
So for those people that are coming for the music, because I'm sure you'll have folks that are really excited about
We
your
hope
lineup,
that's-
right?
yeah.
So for those folks that are coming for the music, what's one thing, Heather, that you would want someone to take away? Because some of these festival goers, again, they're there for the music. They'll be learning about this issue. What's the one thing you want them to take away?
Awareness.
In what form? What specifically would you like them to know?
Well, I left it open because it's awareness to stop the demand, awareness to maybe pick up some key points on maybe what to look for or red flags, to kind of know the impact that it has on our local communities and the greater state as well. And I think they can take that awareness away, and if they can get some education, also great, but it gives them a good platform to learn more in whichever direction they want to.
So the goal of ending human trafficking is, of course, impressive and laudable and necessary and important. It's also very ambitious. How will this concert help end human trafficking? Mary Kay?
Well, I believe it's in a couple of ways, raising awareness and then supporting organizations that are doing their work. And I think helping people understand it's right here in River City. You know, it's happening in our area, it's happening in our community, and we need to be aware and supportive and helpful and help our kids and help our friends really learn about it. So, you know, I think it's a multifaceted way that we hope we have an impact. You know, that I think traffickers think they're safe here, and we want this to be an unsafe place for them instead of for our victims. We want it to be unsafe, and so I think and we hope people have a good time, that the music is fun, and that they want to come back every year and help support this and learn and support our law enforcement and support our organizations.
Every year. You're going to be doing this
Yes,
every
this
year.
is the first.
It's not a one and done. You're going to be doing this each and every year going forward. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about money. So if tickets are $80, how many tickets do you need to sell in order to break even?
Well, 2,000. We'd like 2,000 people.
Okay.
That's kind of the goal. I think we'd like 4,000. But I think our goal the first year is to get 2,000. And then we need sponsors because this is a first year event and there's a lot of expenses. I mean, a lot of background stuff that has to be done and provided. Showers, toilets,
Logistics.
and
Bands.
bands,
Are the bands
and speakers.
free?
No, they're very
No.
expensive. They're very
Okay.
expensive, and that's why we've stayed pretty much with regional, you know, area bands. We're hoping we can bring in at least one, you know, more national, but we have to wait. We need a sponsor to help us really get that covered because you know, that's expensive. It's 20 to 30,000 for one band that's more of a national.
I'm sorry, how much?
20 to 30,000
I see.
for each one, and so we can't really do that.
And they
with the
start
budget.
at 20 to 30,000.
So for those viewers that are interested in helping out,
Yes.
not only to attend the concert, right, as concert goers, but for those folks that want to lean in and support your efforts, how can they get involved?
Do you want to go?
Please,
They
Susan.
can reach out to me at Crystal Cleaners.
Uh-huh.
Give-
Are you looking for volunteers, for example?
We are.
Okay.
We are.
That'll be live on the website. They'll be able to just go on to Rhett Musical Festival, reht.com, and there'll be a site on there for volunteers, which is set to go live in a week or so.
Within pretty quick.
So
Okay.
they'll be able to go on there and sign up for any volunteer opportunities that we have.
Okay. Well, so we talked about breaking even, but of course, ideally, you'll do more than that, right? And so let's assume that you do. What are you going to do with the money?
Well, we're going to donate
Yes.
to at least 3 organizations, probably Port Group Home, the Freedom House, which is run through
Rising.
Rising Hope Foundation. It's right here in the Brainerd Lakes area, and they're serving young victims. They're serving 12 to 18-year-olds in that house. I know. And it's a long time recovery. It's not like something very quick. This is big trauma, and it takes a long time, to get through all of the issues that they bring in. And then the other is to help the Safe Harbor Navigator, our local, Kate Lepage and her work,
Yes.
and to support them. The other thing that we want to do is to continue. We have already been doing, Susan's gotten some great billboards out there, and we want to continue that and to go to organizations and keep talking and keep the conversation open, so that, and we'll need some money for keeping, being able to do that and to support people who are doing that. So that's a huge piece of it that we hope to have raised.
And something else I'd like to bring up is nationally, so many people are not aware of the Brainerd Lakes area is known nationally
Yes.
for human trafficking. That's very upsetting.
And so you're trying to change that narrative and make it known as a place where we're preventing this from happening. Is that correct?
That's right.
Correct.
So if you have an operating surplus at the end of the concert, then you'll be donating those dollars to Rising Hope, Lutheran Social Services, correct? And Port Group Homes.
Right.
Well, and it's in an effort to further awareness and education around the topic. Yeah.
And very briefly, Heather, how would you use those resources if you're fortunate enough to be on the receiving end?
I think we would probably start some community support groups and maybe some outreach services.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank the three of you for helping us better
Thank
understand the issue, of course, and for the invitation to the Rhett Music Festival, August 12th to the 14th in Pine River, Minnesota. Thank you very much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
And thank all of you for joining me once again. I'm Jason Edens, your host of Lakeland Currents. You can continue the conversation on Twitter. Tweet me at CurrentsPBS. Be kind and be well. We'll see you next time.